Parallel Ethernet cable with the waterproof style connections on both ends. Parallel black cable. Parallel red cable. Hey, what's guys, welcome back to the channel. With this episode, we're going to be going over the parallel kit. And just in case you weren't sure what parallel kit we're talking about, the item title currently as the date of the recording is PowerPro Parallel Kit, but the exact same kit is the kit you would use for the EG4 indoor wall mount parallel kit. For some reason, they didn't update the title, at least not the time of this recording, but it is pretty much exactly the same kit. There is no other item number or model number or whatever for the parallel kit. For the indoor battery, it is the exact same one as the PowerPro battery, okay? So if you're trying to figure out which one to get, go ahead and get the PowerPro parallel kit. If you don't know what that is, just click on the link in the description below and it'll take you there. But anyways, the point is, you saw what comes in the box. You get the positive parallel cable, the negative parallel cable, and the Ethernet cable. So let's go take a look at it a little bit more in detail. Stick with us. All right, so these are the three cables that come in the box, okay? As you saw me unbox it, you get this black parallel cable. It has the connectors on both ends. A lot of people call it Amphenol connectors, but it's Amphenol style connectors, but these are actually Degson connectors, okay? They're on both ends, already pre-terminated. You also get the red one, same deal, and you also get the Cat 6 Ethernet cable. This Cat 6 Ethernet cable, I would kind of be, hesitant on using it outside, mainly because even though it has the waterproof seal that, screws on here, almost like an Ethercon type deal. Ethercons aren't waterproof, but the point is that it has a waterproof seal on here. I'm not sure if this cable itself is rated to be UV resistant, but I can definitely tell you these cables don't look like they would be UV resistant, but these cables are usually encased inside of some type of conduit box, and this cable may be too. But just in case you're trying to use it outside, in a place where it's going to be UV heavy, don't count on these cables being UV resistant, okay? UV will break almost anything down these days, so, just be careful of that. Anyways, point is, let's go ahead and see how long these cables are. But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a quick look at these cables, okay? So this is a 2-aught cable, and this is rated for up to 600 volts. And this looks like the exact same cable that comes with the EG4 Power indoor wall mount battery, okay? And just in case you missed it earlier, it's the exact same kit as the PowerPro and the indoor, okay? So I don't have the PowerPro, so I can't tell you if this is the one that comes with the PowerPro, but I can tell you for sure this is the one that comes with the EG4 indoor wall mount, except on the indoor wall mount, only one side is terminated. So on this parallel kit, you get both sides terminated, okay? And if you want to go ahead and take a closer look at the terminations, we'll go ahead and show you that later. But what most people probably want to know is to figure out how long is the cable, okay? So let's go take a look. From tip to tip, the cable is 56 inches, okay? 56 inches is the exact tip to tip of this, maybe about 56 and a half, right? That's at the end of the cable to the other end of the cable, okay? So 56 and a half from this point here to this point here, okay? So if you want to know how long these cables are, there you go, okay? This Ethernet cable, whoa, a little bit careful there, is a little bit longer, right? So if you look here, go down this way, it is maybe, I'll say about 6 inches longer, as you can see here. But Ethernet cables, you don't really have too much issues with cable management because they're usually pretty easy to work with. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at the cable. All right, so this is the cable here that comes, it's the press-on tile style connector, and as you said, it's a Degson connector, all right? So the way that these are terminated at the factory are the insulation is cut off here, and the wire, the bare wire, is pressed into this connector, and then this is usually hydraulically crimped and makes a cold joint here, right? So as you can see here, this example here is actually very well terminated. As you can see, there's almost like no slouch on this thing, and there's almost no bare wire that is exposed. So this one, I don't want to have to cut it open, but you can go ahead and say it's probably very well terminated on this end, okay? So that's a pretty good termination. I would imagine it being done at the factory, even if it's done by people manually, it would still be done pretty well, especially since, you know, there's people that's just sitting there doing this pretty much all day, and that is like their job, right? So as you can see here, this end is also terminated very well. And just in case you weren't sure exactly how these connectors work, right, what really happens is when you press down onto your joint or onto your connection here, this part really connects. See the metal in there connects, and then in order to release it, you press this button right here, right? And when you press the button right here, you are able to lift it off of that connection, okay? So that's what this cable is here. And in case you want to take a closer look at it, there you go. It's like a Guangdong something new energy 2-aught 200 degree 600 volt ROHS cable, okay? If you want to take a quick look at the red cable, like I said, it's going to be pretty much exactly the same because it's just the same cable except on a different color. Looks like this one is also terminated very well here. Right, as you can see here, it's a pretty good cold joint right there. I wouldn't expect it to have any issues, especially since it's, like I said, coming from the factory, right? So there you go. These two cables are pretty much exactly the same length. And if you want to look at this Cat6 Ethernet cable, here you go. Cat6 Ethernet cable, you can see right there. Straight up Cat6 cable. Here's the connection. So the way it works is you press it in, and then you can turn it to get that connection there, right? But as most people will know, on the EG4 indoor battery, you don't actually have this terminator point here. So, you know, that may be something, but in case that was an issue, you could just get a standard, maybe Cat6 cable or Cat5 cable, make that work out. But if you want to take a look at this, you know, you could just go ahead and pull this down, pull that down, and you could go ahead and pull this off, right? And you can just pull this off and plug that in right there without having to use that. Sure, you are going to have, you know, pretty much this end right here that is not connected to anything, but, you know, you are getting this cable with the parallel kit. So on the indoor wall-mount battery, you can just connect this up on both sides on the comms port, and you should be good. All right, so for this example, we're going to assume you have two EG4 indoor wall mount batteries and you only have one inverter, okay? If you have two inverters, you're going to have the other inverter right here, obviously, but most of the steps will be the same. You're going to have to add additional cables that connect the battery to the inverter, but in this example, we're only going to connect the two batteries to one inverter, and like I said, most of the steps will be the same, okay? So to get started, we're gonna go ahead and get your own ground wire that you have to connect, and we're gonna connect the grounds of this, the metal cases of this system pretty much to the metal cases over here, which then that is already connected to the inverter up there, okay? So you wanna use a ground green cable or bare copper connector type cable if you want to do this for this. I don't have any more green cable left, so I'm just gonna use this. We'll have to mark it with some electrical tape later saying that it's pretty much grounded, but we're gonna go ahead and get that one going. And in order to do that, we're gonna start with this 10mm socket to get the grounds connected, all right? All right, so I should have mentioned this before we got started, but obviously you want to do all this stuff with the power killed or off, and you need to make sure there's no voltage remaining, okay? Because even if you kill the switches, the breakers, and all of this stuff, there can still be power stored and maybe some of the capacitors, or maybe you forgot to turn the inverter off or any of that, and it's not like isolated. So make sure you test it with the multimeter before you do any of this, or you're about to do it, okay? So remember, like I said, safety first, okay? So the other thing I really should have mentioned before we got started, and I'll mention it now so we can take a quick break, which is these inverters technically are allegedly mounted on the wall, right? And I have two bolts in the mounting plate on each one, and the holes are designed for 16-inch on center, okay? So if there's two bolts here securing it to the studs and two bolts here, right? So there's pretty much a 16-inch stud center bay pretty much right here, okay? And in order to do that, right, you're gonna need to get pretty much right here, this PVC conduit is gonna be about 11 inches that you're gonna need of this, maybe 11 and a half. It really depends on what you're using, but somewhere between 11 to 11 and a half. And you need to get these male threaded adapters that are going in there. So I'm using schedule 40 PVC, but you need to get 2 of those, and you also need to get 2 lock nuts and also 2 insulated bushings. We'll go ahead and show you that later as we get closer. But what I wanted to point out was that this right here is mounted on the wall 16-inch on center. This right here is mounted 16-inch on center. So there's pretty much a 16-inch on center bay, right? 16-inch stud bay center right there. And I know a lot of people are going to ask, how long does this need to be? Short answer is 11 to 11.5 inches, and we'll get into that later, okay? So now that we've done the ground connections and grounded the system ground, right? What we're going to do is we're going to get the power conductors and get that passed through to connect it to each side, okay? The power cables we showed you earlier, and this can be a little bit tricky to pass them through the conduit here, mainly because that's 2-inch conduit, right? So what I will do is, instead of trying to push them in like this at once, right, you need more area to get that through. What you want to do is stagger them like so, right? And what you really do is probably stagger them this way to get the maximum amount of, you know, space in there, right? So in this case, we're going to pass it in this way. So this is the cable that comes in when you connect it, when you get the parallel kit, right? So you can take these off, right? Just unscrew this part and pull this part down, and you can just deal with this, you know, this mess here, or you can just get your own Cat 6 shielded cables to get it connected there, right? But for the sake of this demonstration, we're gonna use these. All right, so we got it all connected, and this is a battery on the left, meaning the inverter is sitting right here, okay? So these 2 connections right here are going to the inverter, and as you can see coming out from here, we have these connectors going into the other connections here. These are what you call the Quick Connects Amphenol style connectors. The branding on these are Degson connectors. Well, a lot of people refer to them as Amphenol connectors because Amphenol kind of made them popular back then. Amphenol is really popular, connector maker, okay? So in this case, anyways, we have 2 coming in out of this conduit here. One connects to this bus bar, and then the black one connects to this bus bar. And just in case you didn't know, all 4 of these connectors here on the inside are connected together on a bus bar. It's a really solid connection. So now that these are coming in here, connected here, I'll go ahead and remove this one here so you can see the battery comms connection, right? So the battery comms is connected here. This dip switch here is number 1 is down, and all the rest of them are up. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are up, okay? Orange one goes to the inverter. This green one is going to the other battery, okay? From what I understood in the manual, whether you connect it on this one or this port, it really doesn't matter as long as they're all connected together. So that's how that works. And the black wire, as we said, coming out of there is connected to this grounding lug there. So that's how it's connected here. I'm going to go ahead and put this one back. In order to connect it, you push it there, press it down, and just do the tug test to make sure it doesn't come up. So while we're in here, let's go ahead and drill in on this part real quick. So this right here is the conduit right here. Like I said, I think it's like schedule 40 conduit PVC. This right here is the male threaded adapter, and this metal ring right here is the lock ring. You need to get the lock ring, and this plastic part that screws on top of it is what you call an insulated bushing. It's really just a plastic piece that goes over the other male threaded in here, so it helps reduce a lot of the chafing and stuff like that, right? If you wanted to, you can secure this up real tight, but like I said, you need to get 2 of each of these, 1 for each side. All right, so this is the battery on the right side, meaning this is just only a battery, no inverter sitting on top of here. You can obviously see the connections coming out of here. We coiled up the excess mostly in this battery because there's a lot more space in here since this one's not connected to the inverter. And as you can see right here, this black one's connected to this bus bar here, red one's connected to this bus bar here, and this green Ethernet cable is connected to this battery comms port here. Like I said earlier, it really doesn't matter which one you connect to, but what I would do is try to follow the schematic of, if you're going out of this battery to the other downstream battery, I would go to the right one, and if the cable coming into the battery is going upstream to the inverter, I would connect to this one, the one on the left. That's how I would do it. You could do it whichever way you want to do it, you know, it just keeps it easier that way. And on this one, the dip switches on my configuration are 1 and 2 are down, and 4, 5, and 6 are up. So right here is the black cable coming in from the ground. It's connected to this ground lug here, and this cable goes and connects to the other system ground over there on the left battery. You can see we're inside the app. So this 6000 XP is connected to both batteries, and you can see right here it does recognize both batteries. It says number of batteries in parallel 2. The battery capacity is 560. Obviously 560 divided by 2 is 280 amp hours because each one of these batteries is 280 amp hour battery. And the BMS charge limit is set to 400 automatically, and the BMS discharge limit is also picked up at 400 amp hours, right? So everything does seem to be working as designed. It has a state of charge indicator, both of these, averaging out combined to be 54% full. But the important thing to take away here is that the inverter does see both batteries and also sets the charge and discharge parameters and all the stuff that you get from having communication set up properly. All right, so that's how you would use the parallel kit to connect two EG4 indoor wall mount batteries together. And as I mentioned before, it's the same kit for the PowerPro. Obviously, connecting the PowerPro batteries are going to be a little bit different because their connections are on the side, but the fundamentals are going to be the same, all right? So, like I said, that's how we've done it. And if you have a better way to do it or you think we did something wrong, let us know because we definitely want to find the best way to do it. And, we're not always going to be right. So, hope this video helped you guys out. If you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, have a great day, and we'll see you guys next time.